Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell, and I am here with Noah Fleischman. We are back on this fine Monday morning to preview NC State's football season. If you haven't been following along already, we're going through every position group ahead of the start of NC State's fall camp and talking about, what the position groups look like. In this age of college football, man, it's hard to keep track of all the roster overhauls. So we're going to give you a rundown on who you need to be watching out for in each position group, what the two deep depth chart's going to look like. And we're going to talk about reasons to be optimistic, concerned, and we're going to answer some listener questions as well. So far, we've done almost every position group on the roster. So if you go to our YouTube channel, your Spotify or Apple podcast feed, it's all on there. You can find everything from quarterbacks through the defensive line at this point. And we'll publish a pod on the defensive backs later this week. So plenty of exciting stuff coming on the wolfpacker.com. Go check it out. We're both writers for the wolfpacker.com. That's NC State's site on the On3 network, the fastest growing college football, basketball recruiting site out there. And we're going all out. It's football preview season right now. There's a little bit of recruiting going on, a little bit of baseball transfer portal news right now, but mostly we're focused on preparing the Wolfpack fan base for NC State's 2024 football season. So go check it out on the wolfpacker.com. It is only $1 to join the site right now for your first year, our first month, I should say, which gets you access to our premium message board, stories behind our paywall, all of that just for $1. And $1 right now gets you to almost week one. So go check it out. And we really appreciate it if you will. So, all right, Noah, let's dive in. Today we're talking about linebackers. I think the position group probably with the most question marks around it going into the 2024 season. And that's because, you have to replace Peyton Wilson. You have to replace the best defensive player in college football. Peyton, as you all know, was incredible last season. National Defensive Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Just tore up the field with 138 total tackles, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions. He was dominant. He I think, filled a lot of gaps where NC State kind of struggled on defense last year. He made up for that just by being Peyton Wilson. He's gone. There's going to be a lot of holes to fill on the roster. So, Noah, before we dive into the two deep, why don't you run down for us who is joining the room and who has departed from the position group?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like every room, some guys leave, some guys come in, and this one they had 2 guys leave. Peyton Wilson left to the NFL draft, was drafted by the Steelers. Jalen Scott ran out of eligibility. Then 2 guys in the portal, Dajuan Thompson and Torn Wright, both depth pieces, hit the portal this offseason. That was in the winter time, though. Nobody left during the spring portal cycle. They kept the room intact. Who'd they add? Well, we'll start with the freshmen. Kendon Lewis, Josh Ofor, and Zane Williams all entered, along with Wyatt Wright, a junior college transfer. And then we'll put Sean Brown in this boat. He changed position from safety to linebacker. We'll talk about that shortly. So far they were able to do that. And then your mainstays in the room, Devon Betty, Kamal Bonner, Hayden Fordham, Kelvin McBride, and Jalen Parker. So that rounds out kind of the 3 buckets of who's still here, who's new, and who left.
And they also added Elijah Groves, the number 13
Correct.
linebacker in the country, to that room as well. It was a big freshman class. They brought in a lot of freshmen and, of course, Wyatt Wright out of the JUCO as well. So 5 new first-year linebackers into the room. No transfer portal guys, but definitely some, younger guys to, start building the next trio of Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore, and Drake Thomas. This is going to be a developmental year for the linebacker room. We're going to have to see it. There's a lot of experience, but no one who has emerged into that starring role. NC State's been extremely fortunate, Noah, that they've had, Peyton, Isaiah, and Drake for a really long time. For what it would be 6, 7 years? Like, you've had at least one of those guys on the roster. So now it's the first time where you're like, all right, well, you've had Devon Betty training and kind of, slowly emerging into a larger and larger role. You've had Caden Fordham going from someone who was an underclassman with a ton of hype to now you need him to be a star. And then Sean Brown, of course, someone that was really good last year as a safety. They move him down, and there's a ton of excitement about him, which we'll get into. I mentioned the 3 names. They're going to be the 3 starters in all likelihood. Right now, to run you through the starting three in NC State's 3-3-5 defense, Caden Fordham is the front runner to be the starting Mike. Or last season, him and Betty shared snaps in the middle of the defense. This year, Fordham is expected to be the Mike linebacker, with Betty taking on the Sam linebacker position as well. I think the outside linebacker competitions will be a little more interesting. I'm pretty much writing in Caden Fordham as the starting Mike. I think he will definitely be holding down that spot. Opposite of those two, Sean Brown is expected to take the will position. That is the spot that Peyton Wilson played in last year. Sean Brown played in it for 7 snaps against Clemson. So he is not a complete stranger to the position, but it is still massive shoes to fill for the redshirt junior. Someone that, I think we're both really optimistic about. And I know for a fact the people in the Murphy Center are very, very excited about him. Last year, Sean recorded 66 total tackles, a couple of sacks, and a couple of interceptions. I don't think you can say a bad thing about how he did in run support, how he did as a tackler. He was one of the best run support safeties, pass rushing safeties in the country last year. So now you're taking that skill set and you're kind of minimizing the area he struggled in, where he did struggle in coverage at times last fall. He's not going to be covering, slot receivers as much anymore. He'll be covering running backs. And I think that's a much more suited role for him as well. So very big expectations for Sean Brown coming into this season. Noah, any initial thoughts on the starting 3 for the Wolfpack?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, you look at it, it's kind of what everyone expects going in. The only other thing is Caden Fordham this year will be wearing the green dot on his helmet. He'll have be the one calling plays from the sideline, and Tony Gibson will send him in. Something new this year, where you can have technology, whether it's iPads that the coaches will have on the sideline, as well as the green dot on the inside of the helmet. One guy on offense will wear it, one guy on defense. Quarterback will wear it on offense. Usually the linebacker went on defense, and Caden Fordham will be the guy this year wearing it. So we'll see how that happens. He's just, big role for him first year as the consistent starter, and now he'll also have to, kind of bark out the signals, make sure everyone's lined up. So I think that might be the only thing to keep an eye on. But other than that, the 3 guys are pretty, what people thought of, going into this year.
For sure. I mean, we're talking about a room that lost, what was it, like 10 or even 11 years of college football experience between Peyton Wilson and Jalen Scott. But then you're replacing it with Fordham, Betty, and Brown, who are all upperclassmen, all have played meaningful snaps. So it's not like you're expecting an underclassman to come in and start for the Pack, but there's just obvious question marks that come along with not having one of the 3 reliable guys that NC State fans enjoyed watching over the past few years. I will say I think the 2 deep is where things get pretty interesting. I think the backup outside linebackers are 2 of the most intriguing players to watch during fall camp. So you have 2 redshirt freshmen, Kelvon McBride and Kamal Bonner, both former safeties. Kelvon McBride played wide receiver in high school. Both converted super athletic players who NC State moved to linebacker, and they're both. In the days that followed them arriving on campus, they immediately started drawing positive reviews. Kamal Bonner, he enrolled early, and then Kelvon McBride arrived in the summer. By the time both of them had been on campus for a couple of months, people were raving about both of them. And now, I mean, they're going to be the backup outside linebackers. And I asked defensive coordinator Tony Gibson pretty recently if he saw them factoring into the rotation, and he told me candidly they're going to have to. They're going to play anywhere from 20 to 30 snaps a game. That is significantly more of a rotation than NC State played with in a rotation with its linebackers last fall. I think Jalen Scott and Peyton Wilson were on the field for almost every play last year. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be a lot of folks rotating in and out, and Kelvon McBride and Kamal Bonner are going to be a huge part of that. McBride is someone who came in. He's already bulked up to 230 pounds, which is certainly notable. He came in under 200 when he arrived at NC State. So he's someone that I thought looked good in the spring game. He certainly looks the part. He's, kind of like, the Peyton Wilson build, where he's like that, 6'3", 6'4" linebacker, and can play that Sam Will positions at 230 pounds, and he can still run at that size. So excited about him. Kamal Bonner, another player who he's a little bit lighter. He's around, I think, 210 pounds at this point. We heard about a month ago that's what he was at, and but you won't be able to tell that when you watch him play. He hits like a truck. He's an extremely physical player, and Gibson likes his linebackers, I think, a little lighter. He told me when he arrived on campus, he thought the linebackers were a little too heavy. So, yeah, I don't think there's any concerns there. And then at the backup Mike spot, you have Jalen Parker competing with Wyatt Wright. So we mentioned Wyatt, junior college transfer, another guy where if you turn on his highlight tape, the first clip is him literally knocking someone's helmet off. Like, he is someone that was expected to be an outside linebacker, right? And then he ended up moving to Mike and competing with Parker for that backup role. So that's going to be a position battle to watch at during fall camp. And yeah, so that's kind of the 7 linebackers involved in the rotation here. Noah, any thoughts on the backup guys from the conversations you've had with the folks around the program?
Yeah, I'm really excited about a guy like Elijah Groves. We've talked about him, a freshman coming in. They did flip him from Kentucky, and there's a reason why he's one of the top, freshmen just linebackers in the country, in the on-three industry rankings. He's really good. And plus, 18 pounds in 3 weeks is no joke. And talking to, Coach Thunder about it, a couple of weeks ago, he's really impressed with how well it's done and how well he's taken to the transition of going to play college football. Not just the, all right, guys are bigger, faster, stronger, but the off the field stuff, whether it's taking care of your body, eating right, lifting. He's making the adjustment well, and I think that'll be really important to keep an eye on. Not sure how much run we'll see from him this year, but overall, just the adjustment that he's made is really impressive so far.
Yeah, he's listed on the roster at 6'4", 200. Assuming that was his starting weight, and he's already put on 18 pounds, then you're looking at what, 218 for him already? Like, all right, there you go. This is someone that, again, you turn on his highlight tape and he's just making plays all over the field. He played receiver for his high school as well. I think he made like the all region team as well as like a punter or something. He was doing it all for his high school squad. So expectations are certainly high for him. He's one of the highest rated recruits in the past few years for the Pack. So definitely someone to keep an eye on. Yeah, definitely deserves a mention there as well as someone that maybe not immediately, but would either of us be shocked if he's working his way into the 2 deep by the end of the season? Absolutely not. All right, let's talk about why we feel good about the linebacker room. Like we said at the top of the show, a lot of question marks about this group, man. But what is one reason why NC State's linebackers should feel a little confident in the team going into 2024?
I'll take the off-field part of this. They're leaders. When you talk to anybody on this team who's leading this defense, it's a group effort. Devin Van obviously brings his name comes up to be on the D line, but so does guys in this linebacker room also come up. Devon Betty's name is repeated multiple times. Caden Fordham and Sean Brown too. That's really important. From this linebacker group who a year ago was the group that was looked at as, all right, you're the most consistent. You're doing this. You're here to talk to the team. Not that case this year, but I think the leadership piece is really important in showing that these guys not only are they stepping into Peyton Wilson's shoes on the field, they're stepping into them off the field too, and I think that's really important. Going into a new year and a year that NG State has some high expectations that it's going to try to live up to.
Yeah, I think the reason I feel okay about the group is I don't think the floor is that low. Like, I think with the experience you have between Brown, Betty, and Fordham, I think you're at least going to have a solid unit. That's a trio that Coach Gibson knows. He knows their skill sets, what they can and can't do, and shoot, he's one of, if not the best defensive coordinator, best linebackers coach in the country. So he's going to be able to scheme around what he can expect out of that group. And candidly, Noah, like, Betty struggled last year. He had 33 tackles and 385 snaps, which is actually that's pretty low production based on the playing time. He recorded a 46.9 tackling grade and missed on 20% of his attempts. They needed him to improve in that area, and I think he will. He played Mike last year, and it didn't seem like that. It just didn't go well for him. Now he's going to shift back outside to Sam, where on my first year on the beat, when I watched him play, limited snaps during the 2022 season, I thought he looked great at Sam. He played 92 snaps, recorded 72.9 PFF grade. I think maybe that Sam spot will be just better for him. Of course, it was a limited sample size 2 years ago, but and like you said, man, he's a leader. He's an athletic linebacker, strong linebacker. So we'll see if we can see him take a larger step this year. I think he will certainly be better than last year, and it's just a question of what his ceiling is for the Pack. But I think he it's pretty safe to assume we're going to see at least a moderate step forward from Devon this season. And then I just kind of like Caden Fordham. Like I thought he was good last year. I thought he improved as the season went along. He also had some tackling issues at points in the season. Missed 8 attempts over the course of the year, but he finished the year with 53 tackles, over 411 snaps. So that's good. That's impressive numbers for the middle linebacker. And again, another year in the program, also one of the strongest guys on the team. You would hope that he takes another jump. The wild card, Sean Brown. And the reason why, like, if you're looking for someone that's going to be the next Drake Thomas, Peyton Wilson, all ACC linebacker for the Pack, Isaiah Moore, of course, as well, I think it has to be Brown. I think he has the highest ceiling of anyone in that linebacker room just because of what we saw out of him. He just has a nose for the football. He creates turnovers. I think if he keeps up his coverage skills at his new weight, bulking up to around 220, then I think he'll be one of the better coverage linebackers in the ACC. Just because I thought that's the area where he steadily improved in as the season went along, and of course we know he's a great tackler. He was one of the best tackling defensive backs in the country last year. So I mean, if you're asking me to pick one guy out of that group to make an All-ACC team this year, it's Sean Brown for me, and it's not particularly close. So overall, just optimistic that I think there's just a floor. There's a defined floor for this linebacker unit because of the experience. The ceiling is going to be dictated by how high Sean Brown can ascend to, in my opinion, and how good the two redshirt freshmen can be in their reserve roles in those 25 snaps per game. Now, reasons for pessimism. I'll go first here, Noah. It's really just that I think we might be underselling how good Peyton Wilson was because, I mean, I think he covered up mistakes last year, quite a bit. And sometimes him trying to cover up mistakes led to other mistakes. It's something we talked about last year of him just trying to do it all, right? But for most of the year, he did do it all. He was flying around the field, making every single play on the field pretty much for the Pack for quite a few of those games. I mean, you can go back and you can pick any game from last year, and you're going to be impressed, I promise, because he had what? Two games with less than 9 tackles, only 3 in single digits, 4 with more than 13. He was dominant. You can't expect to replace him with one guy. It's going to need you need not just to be a great defense like NC State has been over the past few years. To be a good defense, you need every one of those 3 starting linebackers and all 3 backups to take moderate to significant steps forward. And that's not a guarantee. So I think that's the main reason for pessimism. But Noah, anything to go off of that one?
Yeah, I think the improvement part is big. I mean, when you look at Sean Brown, he's done it before. He did really well in the final series against Clemson and,
Yeah.
and playing this role. I think it's just a matter of being consistent. He was the team's third leading tackler last year with 66, had 2 sacks. He has a knack for tackling. Now it's just kind of putting it together at just a level lower in the defense. That's the only thing. You're just seeing consistency out of him. If they get consistency out of Sean Brown, it's just feeling pretty good about this room a little bit. But right now, this is probably one of the most question mark rooms of the defense. Just is what it is when you look at guys that are on the team and whatnot. But I think there's a lot of room for them to grow, as you said, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, Sean Brown has been a big key in the growth of this room throughout the year.
And dude, like, I mean, during spring practice, like I asked various sources about folks that were standing out from the beginning to the end. Sean Brown's name came up a lot. I think the transition in the spring, at least, went better than anyone could have expected. So I think internally, from everything I've heard, which of course you need to take with a grain of salt, it sounds like he is just acclimating super well to the new role. So set your expectations. I know we're definitely hyping Sean up, but I think it's deserved. I think expectations are going to be pretty high for him this season. And Tony Gibson's 3-3-5 defense, the linebackers are going to be in positions to make plays. It's just a matter of if they can make them. All right, we're going to come back and we're going to wrap up the show with a couple of listener questions. But before we do so, I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace, whether you're looking for tickets to the season opener against Western Carolina, whether you're looking for Durham Bulls tickets, a concert ticket, a comedy show ticket, anything you need a ticket for, Game Time has it. You can find Game Time on any app store. Just search up Game Time, or you can find it on your web browser at gametime.co. That's not .com, that's .co. Check it out. It's a super easy to use platform. I really appreciate it because it just streamlines the ticket buying process. I don't want to have to go through a ton of steps. When I want to go see a basketball game, I just want to be able to make a couple clicks and get a good deal. And Game Time can set you up for that. I use it all the time. Right now, I have it pulled up on my phone on the Game Time app, and I'm looking at tickets for NC State's matchup against Western Carolina on August 29th. And my favorite part about the app is when you go on and you look for your seat, it shows you the view that you'd be watching from if you bought that ticket. I'll hold it up for those watching on YouTube. You can see here's the view in Carter Finley Stadium that you'd see for each of these seats. And right now, the cheapest ticket is $30. So you can get in there for pretty cheap. And to make the deal even sweeter, if you use code Wolfpack when you check out, that's all caps Wolfpack, you'll get $20 off your first order. So the great deal gets even better. Go check it out. It's on any app store again. Just search up Game Time or go to your web browser and look up gametime.co. All right, let's get back into it. Let's wrap up, Noah, with a couple of listener questions. I'm going to throw both of these at you, and you let me know what you think. All right, first off, this one says, I personally think Caden Fordham will lead the linebackers in tackles. Thoughts?
He's capable. I mean, when you look at what he did last year, he's definitely a capable tackler. We talked about came an issue time to time, but 53 total tackles a year ago. Pull up the game log. Virginia was his best tackling game. 12 tackles on the road, big game, 3-point win. He played really, really well. 8 of those were solo stops. He's capable. We'll see if he puts it together. I think it's definitely not an outlandish take by saying that by any means, but we can rock with that. I do think Sean Brown will come up to it. Will make a lot of plays. He 66 tackles as a safety last year. You put him up one more level, a lot more tackles coming at him, and I think he'll be the guy. But Caden Fordham will probably be right behind him.
Yeah, Sean Brown, I think, is definitely the favorite to lead the team in tackles, but I think Caden's probably second for me. I think, like we mentioned right before we went to break there, the 3-3-5 defense, you're going to have opportunities if you're a linebacker. You are going that defense. It's all about just clearing those lanes for the linebackers to make plays. And if you look at the Mike position over the years with Isaiah Moore in there or with Drake Thomas when Isaiah was hurt, like they put up huge numbers because in the middle of that defense, in addition to directing everything, there's going to be a lot of action coming at you. So yeah, no, especially if he takes another step up in play, then I think Caden could definitely lead the team in tackles. It's going to be between him and Sean Brown, if I had to guess. But yeah, it also helps that I think the outside spots will be more of like a rotation, while I think Caden could be on the field quite a bit, especially since he's going to be the quarterback of that defense, essentially, with the in-helmet communication, like you mentioned, Noah. So, yes, to answer the question, sure. Yeah, definitely within the realm of possibility. That's not an outlandish take at all. Caden should have a big year this year. Second question. This is talking about a few of the freshmen that we've mentioned earlier, 3 early enrollees. It's early for these guys, but anything to report on Cannon Lewis, Josh Ofor, or Zane Williams?
Ofor, we saw him in spring practice the first day we were there. Does not look like a freshman at all. In that he's big body guy. Give him, what is that? It's been 5-6 months since we saw him last. A lot of time with Coach Thunder in the weight room. I expect a big thing out of him. Just the frame and everything like that. All three though, they look really good. I think from the weight room portion, we can also include, I think everything together. But overall, I don't know how much we'll see of any of these three this year.
Yeah.
But they are definitely maturing at the right rate, getting their muscles ready, getting their bodies ready, because Devon Betty will be out of here after this year, and then it's going to be time. You have to look and see what happens. But you also see competitive depth is a thing that Dave Doran talks about all the time, and if they can build competitive depth with the freshmen that they have here, that would make this room 10 times better going into next year. Heck, even in the middle of this year, if somebody starts pushing up the depth chart, Dave Doran told us in his office, he's like, just because you're starting game 1 doesn't mean you're starting game 2 or game 3. The guys are going to be pushed every week in practice, and we'll see what happens.
That's the standard of an elite program, right? Like, no job is safe week to week. And I think that is definitely what NC State is trying to instill as the talent level of the roster continues to improve year over year of Dave Doran's tenure. And bringing in this linebacker class is a big part of that. As far as the 3 linebackers that the question asked about, I have not heard much on Zane Williams. I've heard a little bit of Cannon Lewis. I think he is someone that there is some preliminary optimism about, as someone that could be a good player down the road. I will say Josh Ofor, to me, has been the surprise of this class so far, based on everything I've heard. It sounds like he has come in and become an instant playmaker. He's someone that rose up the rankings late in the process. He finished as like an 89 rated 3-star, so borderline 4-star prospect almost on 3. And he's a little undersized. I think he checked in at like 6'1" or something. But I mean, he's a playmaker. You could tell that when you watch the tape, and I think that's what led to the climb up the rankings. And it sounds like he's doing great. He is someone that has drawn a ton of positive reviews. If I had to pick one linebacker to contribute in the 2 deep role, one freshman, I'm picking Ofor right now. I think he is quickly earning the trust of this staff. He's doing a great job, and he's someone that start building the hype for him now, because I think he's going to be a really good player for the Pack. All right. Well, folks, that's today's show. I appreciate you all tuning in and watching. We're going to, start to wrap up these preview series of podcasts because, folks, we're just a little over away from the start of fall camp. Again, we're going to have so much coverage on the Wolfpacker.com. We're going to be at the first day of practice. So go check it out on the site that day, July 31st. We will be there. It is only $1 to get access to our premium information on our website. Go check it out and look us up on the Wolfpacker.com. And we will be back on your YouTube and podcast theme feeds later this week with a couple conversations about the DBs.